Hey, this is Brandon Smith, and you're watching Imagine Your Goddess.
Hey everybody, this is Zeal from Imagine Your Goddess, and today I'm bringing you the deck that took me 32nd place at the regional qualifier, or the regionals, sorry. This is a Larva Beast Zeal deck. This is a lot like my previous deck profile, so if you really want to know the differences, go on over to where I start on grade 3s. But everything else is pretty much the same. Okay, so obviously I start with Larva Beast Zeal. Larva Beast Zeal is the beginning of the chain. If you're going to run a Zeal deck, you got to run the chain. So make sure that you always put in Larva Beast Zeal. For triggers, I run 8 crit. Okay, 8 crit in this deck is very, very good because it applies extreme pressure toward the end of the game. Your opponent is already at a disadvantage if you've used Zeal's ability, and getting those crits in is amazing. Then I run 4 draw. 4 draw gets you some hand size going so you can defend yourself, and later on when you're using the laurels, it really boosts your hand. Then, of course, 4 heals. Do I need to talk about why there are 4 heals? Really? Because you want to heal. Thanks. Then we move into the grade 1s. In the grade 1s, we have 4 copies of Eye of Destruction Zeal, the grade 1 Zeal. Grade 1 Zeal, when it rides to grade 0, allows you to look top 7 and look for the 2 or 3. This adds consistency to the deck, and it's just part of the chain. Make sure you run it. Then I run 4 copies of the Perfect Shield. Perfect Shields are important. That is all. Then I run 2 copies of Caranoid Daisy, the AK Vanilla. I like the AK Vanilla because it sets me up for good columns on the side. I don't usually put them behind the Vanguard unless I have to, but that's the way it runs. I have 2 copies of Commander Laurel. Commander Laurel is why I called this deck Dance Commander. The ability to stand the Vanguard is so useful, especially in Zeal, because you lower your opponent's Vanguard's power, and then you swing with your Laurel, or your Zeal, with something behind it, and it might only be a 15, but if your opponent's Vanguard's a 5, it hurts them a lot to try to block it. Then you put all triggers on the Vanguard, use Laurel to stand, and then you do it again. An extra twin drive, always helpful. Finally, I run 2 copies of Glory Maker. Glory Maker is the 10k booster for Dimension Police. It's basically Limit Break 4, it's a 10k booster for the Vanguard. Okay? This is a very, very good thing behind the Vanguard, but anywhere else on the field it's just a 6k vanilla booster. 6k vanilla boosters aren't great, hence why I only run 2. It's only there to help out with the Vanguard. However, in Zeal, a lot of times you can put bad boosters behind things because you're going to lower your opponent's power, and that is going to give you the edge you need in order to hit. Without further ado, let's go into the grade 2s. First, 4 copies of the grade 2 Zeal. What a surprise. When the grade 2 Zeal rides the grade 1 Zeal, and the grade 0 Zeal is in the soul, then you will be getting your opponents a -3 until end of turn. Negative 3,000 power. Okay, so you get him out there. He also gets +1 when the grade 1's in the soul, so you got a 10k Vanguard against your opponent's 5k or 7k or 4k, and it really gives you that little extra edge. You put out some rear guards and you swing, swing, swing. Then I run 4 copies of Twin Order, 10k attacker. It's good. There's no reason not to run it, and it keeps things in line when your opponent's got bad powers. Finally, 2 copies of Gun Rock. Gun Rock's ability is when your opponent's Vanguard is 8,000 or less, it becomes an 11k attacker. So it has to be when it attacks and your opponent's Vanguard is under 8,000. So sometimes you got to attack with the side when you don't want to with this card. But it often works out because later in the game you're putting your opponent's Vanguard down to 8, 6, 5, and it's always helpful. Finally, I run 2 copies of Super Dimensional Robo Dilating. Dilating's ability is when she hits a Vanguard, you choose one of your Dimension Police and give them +3. Now imagine that you've minused your opponent's 8k grade 1, -3 because you rode the grade 2. Then you have it at 5k. You swing with this, and your opponent has to guard, otherwise they're giving something else a chance to get a shield higher. It becomes a lot of pressure and drains their hand very, very quickly. Okay, finally, talk about the grade 3s. I have 4 copies of Galactic Beast Zeal, the grade 3. When the grade 3 rides the grade 2 and the grade 1 is in Soul, minus 3k to your opponent's Vanguard until end of turn. Also, it gets 1,000 when the grade 2 is in Soul, making it a permanent 11k. And it has Limit Break 4, an activated ability, where you counterblast 2, then your opponent's Vanguard loses 1,000 power for each Dimensional Police rear guard you have. Up to 5,000 power loss on that until end of turn. If you're lucky and your opponent hasn't been blocking anything up to this point, you could ride the grade 3 on top of the grade 2, counterblast, and then you set yourself up for a minus 8 on your opponent's Vanguard until end of turn. A lot of times this is a deal breaker when the damage is high and the hand is low. Okay? So, in general, you won't do that. In general, you'll just save the activated ability for later in the game when you're starting to put on pressure. Finally, I run 3 copies of Lady Justice. Lady Justice is the 12k attacker against the Vanguard. She's great with a Commander Laurel behind her because it makes her 16k column. That's already good against 11Ks, and if you lower your opponent's Vanguard minus 5, it might be a 6K Vanguard, giving you even more shield to drain from your opponent's hand. Your opponent will always look at this in sort of an awkward way. They have 2 choices. Either try to think of their Vanguard as being a smaller Vanguard than it is, or they have to think about all of your rows having a boost, effectively, of the same amount that you have subtracted. This is confusing for a lot of people, and you can use people's bad math against them. I don't really have much more to say about it than that. There are some combos that we can talk about, which I will maybe tape at a later date if you guys want to listen to it. As far as my matches went, every game that I got a 1, 2, and a 3, I won. And every game that I got the 1, 2, and 3 Zeal, I demolished at the tournament. And I wish there was a nicer way to say that, but it was just one of those things that everything triggered and everything went the way that it needed to go. In one game, I was able to stand Zeal with Laurel after putting a crit trigger on him, and then got another crit trigger, so I did 5 damage that turn. It was over on turn 3. Those kind of things, the kind of luck, plus the amount of pressure that you put in the deck, really shows something great to your opponent. It really shows them how much fun Dimension Police can be when you're not focusing so hard on Dayusha. So anyway, that's my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want me to show you some combos later on, we'll give it a try. After all, this is Imagine Your Goddess, and I am Zeal. So I guess we'll talk to you soon.